Hello, hello. I thought I would come back again today since I'm on a bit of a roll. I kind of want to move on to the next step, but need to show you what, what I've been doing for these. So each one has two of these file folder notebooks in. I do have more notebooks to make, but I'm going to move those aside just for a second. Now, I've made some envelopes for our journal. Very, very easy. Now, I bought some rather large envelopes from Hobbycraft in the UK. I've got quite a few of them, so I'm going to do 2 per journal. I'm going to do the craft colour and a cream one. Now, one I'm using papers from the kit, and the other I'm using scrapbook paper. So I have a scrapbook paper one in this colour, so I need to do this one with a paper from the kit. So I've printed 2 of my absolute favourites. I love these 2, nice and colourful and bright, so I'm going to be using one of those. The thing is, these envelopes are too big, but it's good in one way because it allows me to open them up and sew. So what I'm going to do, first step, is I'll just grab my pencil, take my cover, and I want this the same height as my cover, but I'm going to keep it at the width that it's at. So I'm just going to line this up and have roughly, if I turn it this way, it'll be a bit easier, roughly the same amount of gap either side. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little pencil line and just grab my trimmer. And I'm going to just slice off the edges of the envelope. Like so. Nice and easy. That's all I'm going to need my trimmer for. But what I am going to need is, if I can find it, and that's my tear ruler. I'm still asked a lot about this. Most of the products I use are listed on my website, and there is a link to this ruler, so I'll put a link for my website down below. So now this opens up like so. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is grab a sheet of tea-stained paper. And obviously, I'm going to work on the inside. Now, working in order, I found a new sponge, so I was quite glad about that. And I've got my ink. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is ink the whole envelope. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up and just ink. Actually, no, I lied to you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to round the corners of this where I've cut, and these don't have to be perfect. I just want it rounded off because we have quite a square edge where we've put that through the trimmer at the moment. Okay, so that's that done, and now I'm going to ink it. So that's done. One thing I do want to say is, you don't have to worry about the size of your envelope. You could do exactly the same thing with a smaller envelope, but trimming these edges off just gives you so much more kind of flexibility what you can do with it, really. Now, I'm not sure if I'm just going to have, I want to tear the edges, so it's not going to quite work having my page that way, so I'm going to do it this way. So what I do is just close this part of the envelope up and use my pencil just to show where that's going to show, because I need to make sure my paper comes down further than that line, if that makes sense. So I'd normally try and do this a little bit more carefully so I don't waste so much of the paper, but I'm going to glue this top half of the envelope, and I'm going to come below that pencil line. I had quite a lot of messages about why I had a piece of lace tied around my wrist, and I've been given lots and lots of ideas from people telling me what I should and shouldn't have around my wrist, because a lot of people don't like my bracelet hitting my glass board, and for quite a lot of time I've kind of just, you know, gone with that, but it is actually quite loud sometimes on the film. So basically this piece of lace is just stopping my bracelet clanking on my glass board, so I will come up with something a little bit more creative to put around my wrist, but at the moment this is my quick solution. Right, now I haven't given myself a lot of room at the top there. Never mind, we'll work with that. Oops, bit of a crease, never mind. So what I'm going to do is put my ruler pretty much up against the edge here, okay, and I'm just going to tear this like so, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. I mean, this is these are actually quite quick to make, and I'm gonna give myself, you know, about, I don't know, half a centimetre, quarter of an, I don't know, is that a quarter of an inch roughly, maybe, just giving it a little edge so it kind of overhangs the flap of that envelope. And there. Now I'm going to just kind of try and tear away a few little bits at the top here, just to give that an edge. And not looking for perfection, quite happy with that. So I'm going to ink this inside and out, all my little sticky out bits. So that's that part done, and now I'm going to work on the actual envelope itself. So it's a case of picking my paper, and I think I'm going to go for this one. Now what I'm going to do is, I want it, if you can look at this one, we've got a little bit showing here and here, and I've worked at an angle. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is just tear a section across here. It seems really echoey in this room today. Don't know why. And I'm just going to make sure it kind of overlaps the top and this bottom panel here. Not too much, doesn't have to be too much. Kind of decide roughly where I'm gonna, and I do that, all of this is done by eye, it's not, I'm not measuring anything. Tear there. Okay, that looks about right. Now this side is the easiest side because you've got a bit at the top and the bottom to line up to, so I'm just going to line that up and tear off this bit here. And then try and hold that roughly in place and turn it over. And then I'm just going to tear there. Okay, so that should cover roughly. There we go. So we've got a little bit of overhang top and bottom, and that's working at an angle. So I'm going to ink this piece first. So this is our first part. Okay, nice and easy, just tearing Okay, so I'm actually going to glue this first piece into place. There we go. I'm not going to fold this as yet because I want to give this time to dry, so I'm not going to get too many ridges when I fold the page. So the next thing, I've picked two papers to kind of overlap. Now, I'm being really stingy with this. This is, I think I have another piece about this size. This is what came from the packaging from the Nikki Agden, who sent me some happy mail, and I've been hoarding this, but it just looks so good on this, so I'm going to use it. I've laid each envelope up slightly different. So this one, I've got the tea-dyed paper sticking out from the bottom, but not at the top on this one. And the other two are both like that. So it's kind of a strip. It's really, really straightforward to do. It just gives it kind of a nice look. So all I'm going to do, first of all, is tear myself a strip of tea-dyed paper. And I think I'm going to do the same kind of, you know, overlap these slightly, one on top of the other. That might be a little bit, yeah, that's a little bit. Now it's going to be easier for me to tear a new piece than try and tear that piece again. Okay, so that's one. And now I want to tear a piece of this, but fairly thin. I might actually overlap them. It's just a case of seeing how it looks, really. I had a piece of ink on my ruler. That's okay. Turn that over. No, I don't care about that. That's fine. Yeah. So I'm going to go for a couple of strips a bit like that. And I know that's going to cover up some of that butterfly, but that's not too bad. Okay. So I'm just going to ink these strips. Just roughly tearing those in place. I'm going to tidy them up probably. Actually, that's not bad. They're probably okay. So I'll just ink the edges of those, and I'm going to glue this into place. I mean, this is so simple. It's just three layers on an envelope. The stitching obviously adds something else to it, but it doesn't have to have the stitching. Oops. So now I'm going to have to cover some of that butterfly up. This will probably need a little bit of trimming. It's not the easiest of papers to glue. A glue stick probably would have done a better job, but I'm going to sew over this, so I want it to be dry fairly quickly. Okay. I'm just going to tear this. There we go. The inside of that bit of an ink, it's not showing up. There we go. Just grab a tissue. I haven't got a lot of baby wipes, unfortunately, left. They're a bit hard to find around here, and I just think it's probably nicer to leave things like baby wipes for people that need them. So I'll show you in stages. So the first thing I'm going to do is just sew along here and along here, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've sewn either side of that. It's not perfect, but you know, that's fine. It's going to add to the effect. So the next thing I'm going to do is sew down the top and the bottom of my large paper strip. Okay, so I've just done a double stitch line at the top and a single stitch line down the bottom, and now I'm going to add a pattern stitch to this strip here. Zigzag would work perfectly. I've obviously got a few stitches that I like to try and use on my machine, but a zigzag stitch or even another straight stitch with a, you know, a double layer would just look just as good. So I'm just going to sew this particular piece. Okay, so that's that done. That's all of the stitching before we close the envelope. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just very carefully fold the envelope now. Okay, I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to use a very small amount just to start off, just so this doesn't move really while I'm sewing. And like I said, you can apply this to any size envelope. Okay, so I'm going to sew on this side because I want to make sure I'm sewing on the inside of the original flap. But I'm going to sew up and around, and then I'm going to sew fairly close to the edge on here. Now I'm going to put holes in here, and there's always a risk that my holes are going to go over some of the stitching, but that's fine because what I'm going to do is put a tiny amount of glue around if that's the case, and I'll show you how I do that in a minute. So I'm just going to do my straight stitch around the envelope. Okay, so that is my envelope all sewn. Okay, so you've got a little bit of decoration at the top and the bottom here, and you've still got options, which I'm probably going to do to kind of decorate these further. So you can put a stamp on, you could put a kind of mailing address label in there, other labels, you know, there's still things that can be done to this envelope. This is just kind of a canvas if you like to work on, although they do look pretty good as they are. So I've got my cover, which I keep using as my template. I'm going to put my circles in, and I am going right over some stitching there, so I'm going to be able to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take my crocodile. I'm just going to poke my lead in because I'm going to use that to poke the paper out. Right, okay, just right over that stitching. Typical. Going to cut that off. Oh, don't need to poke it out, it's gone. That's brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to take a couple of eyelets. If I can find, you can never seem to get two out the same colour. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just here, I'm going to use the tiniest amount of glue on that stitching. What I normally do is use my art glitter glue. Okay, and now I'm going to put this over the top. So put my eyelets in. I do find this particular one doesn't pinch them as hard as the other one. Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to go over that again. That's fine. I mean, you could always put another layer of these particular envelopes are a bit thinner than the craft coloured ones anyway, but that's fine. There we go. So that's our envelope, and I'm going to put writing paper of some sort in here again, because I want there to be lots of options to journal, although I'm probably not going to have many plain pages in this particular journal. So we've got the two little notebooks, and we have, if I can find, and we have two envelopes. That one probably go that way, I think. So let's put those in. So you can see we only have 4 things in here, and it's already fairly big. So that's not right, is it? That's not right. We do have to work on the cover. I'm going to work on a couple of bags for the journal, and a couple of large tags. So that will be coming up next. But that's the envelope, and I think these look pretty cool. You know, fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Just layering some envelopes up. So thank you for watching. Fairly quick. I will be back with probably a bag idea of some sort. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.